and he's in kindergarten, so I have a.
Yeah, he was. No, I was just.
Yeah.
Something next time. Sometime.
All right.
We just go.
All right, very good.
All right.
All right, everyone, I think we're ready to start the meeting. So I'm going to do a formal, who is here from the board? I'm here. I call your name to say yes. Ashley Workman?
Yes.
Stu Zapsky?
Yes.
Laura Freeman Legg?
Yes.
Ray Morris?
Yes.
Michael Mudge?
Yes.
Douglas Reed?
Here.
Ed Wenshaw? Simon, okay. Brad Nixon?
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. We will start at 1:30. All right, we have a new board member, so I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce her. And then I think, because I'm not sure if she knows everybody at the table, we just go around and just say who you are. And Doug Reed, I'm sorry, your name wasn't on here. Doug, sorry, wasn't on my cheat sheet. My cheat sheet tells me everything. Laura Freeman Legg. Had the opportunity to meet with her a couple of months ago. We had, of course, the open board seat that was Becky Ruberg when she resigned, and through Robin Summerfield and Dee Dee, we had a wonderful conversation with Laura. She submitted her application. It's approved by the governor. She's awaiting senatorial confirmation, but she's an active full voting member of the board right now. So with that brief introduction, Laura, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Laura Freeman Legg. I'm currently the town administrator for the town of Westernport. I'm formerly the mayor, and I am a former circuit rider for Maryland Rural Development Corporation, where I've worked on many projects across the state. So I'm very project oriented, and I'm excited to be a part of this.
Good, there. One of the things that when we talked to Laura that became very apparent that she would be very helpful is as we expand into the entire county as a heritage area. And we really are lacking that part of the county representation. So we're very, very happy to have Laura kind of bring us up to speed on what's going on there and what the opportunities will be here. So welcome.
Thank you.
You know me already, so I'm going to go to Michael. If you could just who you are a little bit.
Hey, Michael Mudge, just general board member. I am a educator out at CCTE, where I teach primarily world history, but I also cover criminal justice, contemporary world issues, and I fill in with other classes as kids need graduation credits. But yeah, that's me.
Laura and I know each other from various trail projects, but I'm Ashley Workman, the director of tourism for Allegheny County.
I'm Chris Stevens. I'm the Cultural Resources Program Manager for the CNO Canal National Historical Club. And I'm a historical landscape architect and a native cover. So.
Great.
Steve's asking economic development for the city of Como.
I know Laura.
Yeah, we know each other.
I kind of figured.
My name's Doug Reed, and for this month at least, I'm still a board member of here and have been a board member from 2000, late in 11 to when did we figure 17, 16 or 17? Yeah. Hired that young woman behind Carlin there and love her to death. She's done a lot of good things for this area.
And I think Doug, you're representing Maryland.
Maryland Historic Trust.
Very good. Thank you. It's great to have you tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad Nixon, I'm the attorney up across the state.
All right. I think we have Ed Snyder, who's our attorney. He's on Zoom, and Ed is also on Zoom. Is that correct, Kim?
Yes.
And Ed, Ed, do you have any audio you could introduce yourself?
in my nod, he says. He's
Okay,
texting me.
all right. Ed is representing the National Park Service, but I think, Chris, you're gonna give the report today, is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right. First order of business is the minutes from the meeting, which were in your board packet. I would accept a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
Anyone moves? Is there a second?
Second,
Any questions on the minutes? All in favor of accepting those, say aye. Opposed? Minutes stand accepted. The financials, I'm going to turn this over to Nicole. Do you have any comments or thoughts on that, Nicole?
All right, the spreadsheets have been modified to more closely resemble the report that supports the information that I get, so there's a little difference in what you've seen previously. For revenue, each section is now color coded to differentiate the various sections. For expenses, items are grouped in order that come through the report, and different fund types are in different colors. So there's that. For revenue, all tenants are current or ahead for July and August rent payments. We have received a $100 payment for July of $7,829. Parking for July and August was over $7,000, which is great. We did not receive any funds for grants during July and August. We did start to receive payments for fiber usage from our tenants. And the revenue brought in stands at $80,228.99 for July and August. For expenses, payroll, which is Audit Code 100 series, we did have 3 pays in July, 2 in August, and that also shows accruals and realignments for your general fund and special fund payrolls. The general fund allocation for payroll has decreased since last year. Payments were fairly typical. We did have the annual inspections occur for fire extinguishers, alarm sprinklers, etc., which shows in Object Code 0809 and within Object Code 0812. We did need to do repair to the gangway for the canal boat, which costs about $1,540. We did pay $9,813.85 to Ecologics for the river park for July and August. As always, the total amount of money paid out can be seen on the spreadsheet. It will be in your last column on the right-hand side for that budgeted line item. The expenses paid out were a total of $124,617.47 for July and August for both special and general funds. For year-end closeout, we did do a budget amendment to close the year, which is typical. But due to an administrative error, all river funds were reverted, which has since been corrected and allowed us to spend the EDA money which we were allocated. So we are in good shape.
Any questions? Or do you want to go through anything else before we ask for questions, Nicole?
You good?
Okay. Any questions about the reports that Nicole has reviewed with us? And I would entertain a motion to accept those. Brad, and a second.
Second.
Laura. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed? All right. They are approved. You received Dee Dee's report and the materials that went out last week. But there have been some changes, so there's a new report that Dee Dee's provided in your packets today. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
I can talk about it in a minute.
Okay, obviously. Okay. All right, yeah, the one probably biggest change has to do with the management plan and heritage area management plan, but we can go that separately under old business. So, are there any questions that any board member would like to ask on the report?
Yes, one question. The FMIS modernization team. It sounds like that's chewing up a lot of your time.
Well, Nicole was our financial officer, and yes, that FEMA system. It's an awful lot. And they went from an older system to a new system that she's been on. And the lots of still being created, so right now it's a patch on you, so. Yeah. And that's for this meeting, because it happened that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Just a small edit under marketing. I'm assuming that's 4,000 versus 400. Just missing a zero, it appears, under the marketing report.
Yeah,
The grant.
4,000, yeah.
Okay. No, it's all right. I just think
We'll make that change. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Very good. National Park Service report. Chris, I think you're gonna give that.
Sure, I really don't have much other than, just the ongoing projects that we talked about before. But the really big thing is the potential lapse in funding, which is, we will know by midnight tonight. So we're preparing, just in case.
And if that, there needs to be an impasse, what happens?
An impasse, oh, the lapse in funding would begin at midnight, and then we would have, essential employees would continue working, and non-essential employees would be, part of the shutdown. So until there is a, funding package in place, then everyone can come back to work. So, but there will be some changes, so they will be posted on our website.
All right, any questions? All right, moving on to old business, the Heritage Area Management Plans. Dee Dee has some updates on that.
Right, as you know, you all commented on the draft of the management plan. We had comments from the general public, Maryland Heritage Area, program staff commented on it. Tourism is a partner helping us with the plan. They had comments. So all the comments went into a Cornhill strategy. They came back to us. And there's still some corrections that need to be made, and I've got it back in the Maryland Heritage Area Authority or the program staff. They're looking at it again. So you guys, if you could please review one last time to make sure that everything's in there that you think should be is in there. And then you can get it back to me. And I've provided a timeline of when all these comments are due back, but here's the big thing. The timeline for approval has changed, and I'm thinking it's now going to be July of 2027. The reason being is part of the Heritage Area Plan approval has to go into the comp plans for like the City of Cumberland, the City of Prosper, Allegheny County. Currently, the City of Cumberland is in the process of updating their plan, and I've been part of that, so they have the language, but all that, the Heritage Area language needs put in those comp plans. The City of Prosper, they're updating their plan. Allegheny County's updating their plan. Laura, I don't know where you guys are.
we're late actually. But
Yeah, okay. Well, I think everybody must be, but, so the deal is the comp plans probably aren't gonna be approved, on time for the time I thought. So it looked like, leaving the City of Prosper was gonna be, like late 2026. So by the time that it goes through public hearing and Maryland Heritage Area Authority has like 90 days to review, I'm thinking it's gonna be July of 2027 when all this happens. Because everybody wants to wait to put it, and I get that for their comp plan, the Heritage Area language and comp plan. So that's what we're looking at.
Any questions on that? I think for the board, you received the second draft. So again, just to reiterate what Dee Dee has asked you to do, to take one look at it, provide any comments that you have.
I said October.
October 30th, October 20th.
October 20th, all right. Thank you. Yeah, so you have a few weeks to take a look at it. It's pretty text heavy. But if you go to the appendices, it lays out the goals and strategies pretty clearly. You might just want to go right there, rather than wait through the text. It's all in the appendices. All right. All right, if there are no other questions, I feel like drum roll. What everyone came to hear about is the River Park update presentation. Dee Dee may have a couple of comments, but we have Andy Arnold here. I see Bobby Smith, it's a surprise. Thank you, Bobby, for coming. And John DeFonso, Bobby and John from the city of Cumberland are kind of shepherding from the city's perspective what's going on here. Dee Dee and John and Andy and I had a chance about 3 weeks ago, I guess, to take the plan that we had on paper and to walk the land-based amenities. You know, what's going to happen with the trails and what's going to happen with the parking. And so you got to see what the plan says we could do, and then we walked to see what reality could tell us was possible and what the budget would support. So those are the things that we asked Andy to kind of, okay, update that plan to what we saw reality-wise, money-wise, and share that with the board. So is that enough of an introduction?
That's good. You can just keep going. That's slides are what you just talked about.
Okay.
No, thank you. My name's Andy Arnold. I'm with Windofs and Foreman. Also on the design team is Marcia Johnson in the back there with Rio. I got a lot of information to go through, so I'm going to try to go through pretty quickly. I'm assuming a level of familiarity with the years of planning that have gone along with this. If that's not there, please just stop me and jump in. If you want to pass around, presentations are in this, my card's in there. After we're done here, if anybody wants to reach out on their own, please. So this is a continuation of the work started as a part of the conceptual planning over the past years. We are here for the shared use path design, ADA pedestrian multimodal. Not here as part of the dam removal or the river treatments, strictly the shared use path design. We were brought on board in late April. Hyper aggressive schedule. We're dealing with that. We will continue to deal with that. So in August, we made a 30% submission to state administration. That 30% represented everything that was in that planning level document. Costs as part of that were at $10.6 million, and that didn't include certain contractual obligations. We were staring at a $12 million-ish project, which was beyond where the funding wanted it to be. Often the case on planning level design versus actual engineering design. That's generally how this goes. So as mentioned, we walked the site, scaled things back. However, I got ahead of myself. We submitted that 30% submission, received comments from these administrative agencies a week ago, with an inclusion of the 60% submission, which we're going to talk about where that's going today, is due in October. Again, this is very aggressive. We're going to do our best to get a representative submission together. There's going to be shortcomings there, and we'll go around. That's going to be how this goes. So just to reiterate, that 30% submission back in August, 60% coming up in October. We're looking towards final design in December. That's very idealistic, but that's our target. Again, that 30% submission, you've seen this for years now. That was the planning level document that was completed. As part of that, like I mentioned, 10.6 million is where we moved on that. So during our walk, what do we do to get within budget and still maintain the priorities? Originally included was a wetland trail. This was an elevated trail, far end of the site. So we are sitting in that orange dot at the top. The far end at the very bottom here is that existing wetland. That would be a raised boardwalk that basically was a loop through that wetland area. Pretty expensive, what we call a dead end. Would have been nice, but that was one of the first things on the shopping floor. The trusted loop ramp, which is, well, I'll get to these in a little more detail as we go. In the original planning, there was a ramp adjacent to the railroad bridge. That was the second cut. Again, pretty expensive item. Riverfront trail and seating area. Riverfront trail is the lower trail, it was parallel with the upper trail. Turn the upper trail, lose the lower one, eliminate some of the seating area, with the understanding that whenever the river work actually happens, that would be the time to do that portion of the project too. And this is going to make the crossing of the railroad right in the back of this building, with a bridge that extends over on that lower grass area where water flow is permitted. We also added these, well, we're calling it the CNO ramp. Originally it had been conceptually a switchback. That was going to be a problem. So I'll get to that in a second, but we're looking more of a ramp situation then. So each of those, like I mentioned, I'm going to go through this real quickly. If you're familiar with the area, that's the towpath at the very end of the run. That bottom orange line is wetland area down to the left. So that was one of the items that wasn't eliminated. The seating area, or not the seating area, rather, but the viewing area, this existing stone wall, again, right sort of outside the back of the building. There is no view to the dam. It's generally blocked by the existing railroad bridge. That is also going to present a whole challenge of structural issues to make that happen. So that was another one of the cuts. The riverfront trail, as I mentioned, this is the lower trail. It's parallel with the upper trail. So for the time being, maintain the upper and eliminate the lower. The lower is very expensive, as opposed to the upper, which we'll get to, is a little easier to design and construct. Connection point at the railroad crossing. This is adjacent to the other railroad crossing. This gets you across and back to the landing platform to the rear of this building. So it means to get there and then ultimately cross the existing bridge, which will be back up on the other side. Just again, that would be the landing where the existing platform. That would be where the bridge is from the other side. And the CNO ramp at the existing curved overlook. This sort of becomes the highlight of the project, I think. Trails are fairly straightforward. I'll get into the design a little bit later, but this would be a ramp off of that existing curved overlook, which would get people down to the river, gets kayakers, gets you to a trail. That becomes the main access point. So where are we at now? Don't worry about the small print. These are engineering drawings, so we're not planners at this stage. We're engineers, so we get more technical. This would be the start of what we're calling the trestle loop. Again, just using the terminology from the planning stages. That ties in at the far end at the towpath. Continues on and comes to that landing I mentioned previously at the overlook. That is almost 3,000 linear feet. That is a lot of trail. And the cost that goes with that is $1.8 million. Based on some of the comments we've received from Shaw, they want to see a 10-foot width. We originally planned for an 8-foot. And they want to see some sort of protection against debris. A lot of this is, in theory, underneath the 100-year flood elevation. It's going to be underwater. We constructed to resist that so it doesn't float away. One of their comments is keep debris off of it as well. Okay, that's another added cost to the project. We'll have to deal with. But there will be a railing that runs along the river as part of this trip. Like I mentioned, CNO8, we're calling it the ADA ramp overlook. I think this sort of becomes a real key component of the project. It connects that curved overlook, ramps down, switch back, connects with the current trestle loop trail, and creates the potential for that next run, which will tie back in with that seating area on the other side of the river. Not being constructed as part of this one. That again, that has to be a very pricey thing. So priorities had to shift a little bit. Oops. And what does that look like? So in the context of the area, it's like previously mentioned, bridge connects behind the shops here. Unless you folks tell me we don't like this and it doesn't work, but I think that's the context of the area where we try to match aesthetically something along those lines. That still conforms with all the ADA requirements we got to hit. It also fits to the area. Again, just look, if you're not familiar, that's what it looks like right now. It's pretty tough terrain out there. This gets you down to the river in a suitable fashion. 1.4 million.
Just for that elevation change.
About 30 some feet.
Is that right? What's the
So-
elevation normal from water to the high trail?
So on these maps, that red dashed line,
Yes.
that is the 100-year flood elevation. So design wise, normal doesn't matter. Normal is well below this.
Okay.
So in theory, we would put gates on certain segment of the ramps. Part of these are going to be underwater at some point.
Yeah.
We designed them for that. The gate off areas where they get underwater, have a landing. You can still in theory go down, have viewing off of those landings and be safe.
Okay. I'm curious, 100-year floodplains are beginning to get outdated.
Yeah.
Which level is this one? In other words, when was that 100-year floodplain established?
That is the current FEMA 100-year floodplain, and it's not looking forward to whatever is going to happen in the future. So, yeah, we know, well, historically, that I don't know if the water level's gotten quite beyond that.
Uh-huh.
Sure, it has
It's
once
not
or
as
twice.
bad here as it is in the Midwest. Pueblo, Colorado has done this. And with the river, what do they call those? The river rains in the skies that they're getting, that they've had 300-year floodplains since, I'm sorry, 96 or something like that. That's too much. So they're upping the ante.
We've done a lot, we do a lot of dam work.
I
Same
bet you
thing.
do.
As those elevations change.
Okay.
It's, since become a cottage industry, they keep us in
All
business.
right.
Same thing. In this case, we'll deal with whatever the numerous organizations who get to review this and comply with whatever's.
That's the best guess you have.
But the majority of this portion and the trail going this way are designed to resist that. For points mostly. But yes, that was another reason to eliminate the other side, the riverfront trail. The underwater trails are very expensive just to construct, to resist that buoyancy factor. So this one stayed, the other one left. Moving right along to the railroad crossing, this is again, right behind the building. Connects with the landing for the railroad across the way. And gets you to that other pedestrian bridge across the river. That's a relatively smaller one, $250,000. The upper Levy Trail. This one picks up near the landing by the George Washington House. Cover that in a second too. But it picks up around there, runs to South Johnson Street to the other side, ultimately carries on through. We delineated these by name. That one's fairly straightforward. This one also included a parking area, which again, it is a priority. So this would be under the interstate. So maybe we can get all the permissions that are necessary and all that sort of thing. Just to add parking down there where it doesn't exist. You're familiar with it, it's in that area, and then the trail continues across the top parallel to the highway there. 1,400 linear feet, again, that's not small. $930,000 for that. The ramp at South Johnson Street is on the opposite side of the levee, so this is the downhill side, facing towards South Johnson Street. So it's just really connect this trail back down into town on that side. $340,000 approximately, 340 feet. That's just a straight up switchback. Little easier to construct on the other side. What we're calling the YMCA connector trail. This is another long run. This is a continuation of the trail I just mentioned. Ultimately, ultimately landing at the Ruston State on-ramp, we have to work out how that actually works, functionality, gets you to the bike path across the street. That's the goal there, which gets you to the YMCA. That is a 1,360-foot run at $2.2 million. That runs against the existing wall. That keeps the river away from those buildings and the dispenser area. That's why that is the price that it is. That is difficult construction. So where does all that land us? You add all that up, get around $6.9 million straight construction costs. You add in certain contingencies, lighting and stormwater features, contract obligations. You're now in the neighborhood of $7.9 million, which is a little more manageable as far as the available funds go. Which was the entire goal of this exercise, between 30% and 60%. And that's where we're at right now. So with that, I'll open up the floor. Happy to answer any questions you might have. If you have my card in those folders, if you want to reach out, please do.
We can make a couple of comments just because it was Dee Dee and Andy, John and I that walked this thing. I think at the end of it, what we think the conclusion is we have these parameters. So affordability was one. How much money did we have? And that we couldn't go beyond that. We were really concerned about ensuring ADA access as we build this thing. I didn't want that to come in later. It had to be forefront in our mind. River access, almost immediate river access, because there is not that now. So this phase, we were really focused in on providing access to the river. And then flexibility to get through this phase and be prepared with the removal of the dam and construction of the river park. So nothing we would do now would be an impediment or that we'd have to tear out. So those were the kind of logical things we put in place. So just keep that in mind, the affordability, flexibility to take on phase 2 and 3, ADA access, and let's make sure we have river access with this phase, which is, really the land base amenities. So is that fair? Is that a fair statement? So, can't get everything you want unless you're a Rolling Stone. But we felt that this was a good place. The other thing is I think we were really, all of us, we really want to see a shovel in the ground ASAP because the public is not really, you've all been working for a very long time on this, but the public, I think, has maybe not heard that all this good stuff is going on behind the scenes to get a shovel in the ground. That's why Andy mentioned being on a very aggressive schedule. It's really important for us to move as quickly as we possibly can so people know this project is really going to happen. So, and I really want to add anything to it. I know our feet hurt after we were done.
It was a nice walk. It was a nice walk, and we all made it. And I think that one slide would tell the public a lot, where it shows all the comments from all the state agencies and from State Highway. I do have a question. The decision State Highway said 10 feet, said 8 feet. Why?
We are going to find out. I believe it's internal regulation. C10 plus 2 feet of shoulder inside.
For a trail.
For a trail. Yeah. We've done shared use paths that are 8 feet. So
I think,
Yeah.
Andy, I think that's related to bikes, brochures.
Yeah.
You don't want to gap around. It's the safest with all those activities potentially done.
Yeah. We'll be on the safe side, but there's a cost that comes with that square footage.
Exactly.
Were there any abnormal comments? Like something that you wouldn't typically come across in other projects?
No, it was
Okay.
fairly typical for what gets submitted at a
Yeah.
30% stage is very preliminary. So it was good to get that ball rolling. We expect more specificity on the 60%.
Everything so far, it is all on the Maryland side of the Potomac, correct? Nothing is on the West Virginia side?
But you will notice if you read Dee Dee's report, she has had meetings with folks on the West Virginia side. So while it doesn't reflect in the plans, she has reached out to those folks.
And the Park Service provided comments too.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a
So
question.
everybody owns a little bit of everything in this project, so get a lot of input.
Both of you have mentioned a predetermined budget. You want to stay within that, but what is that budget?
Well, we have, about $7.5 million. The $6 million came from state highway, and we had to match that 1.5.
And it's already
So we
committed?
had, yeah, yes.
Okay, how long ago was that established?
The 6 million, I believe, was 2023. It was a federal earmark.
So do we have any inflation increases that go along with that? Because, you know, these construction costs are not going to stay the same.
Yes, we do. We do, when we put it in the capital budget, they
Yeah.
put in inflation taxes in there. So.
So
they're
there'll be some
allowing us
increase,
to
okay.
cover more.
Okay, good.
And they have increased them since we started it because of the cost of.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any more questions for Andy or John or Bobby, if you wanted to make any comments?
It sounds like maybe we have some concurrence to move forward as we're progressing, which is really what I was after. I want to make sure we're headed in the right direction. Once we go from 60 to 90, 90 becomes very much towards final design. That's what we're headed.
Now's the time to ask questions or bring up something you're not concerned or you are concerned about or don't understand. And you do have Andy's.
Yes. So once you get a chance to sit with this for a bit, if anything pops in your head, please just change the message. The drawings aren't great because it's really hard to convey a couple miles of space on a very small block of page. So
Yeah.
Google Maps is friendly, and also go for a walk. It's it really does sort of tell the story once you're out there.
Yeah.
I did. I walked the trestle loop
Mhm.
and took pictures to report back to the park.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the first time I've been to the river's edge in my whole life. So, but it is, when you get to the end, it's amazing how steep it is.
Yes.
And I did come up right by the old historic masonry wall of that concrete path, and I had to balance myself.
Yep.
But yeah,
That's almost a sheer climb.
it is a sheer climb.
It is. Yeah.
The, I know for the future, for the 60%, the railroad crossing, it goes over the historic walk structure. So yeah, we'll be paying attention to that
That's
because,
gonna be interesting.
yeah.
Oh, you guys are so easy to work with.
That
That won't be a problem. Right?
Okay, any other questions? Going once, going twice? All right, thank you, Andy, very much. All right.
Thanks.
Okay, we're gonna move on to new business. I asked, do you have anything you want to share, Bobby, John?
I thought you guys were gonna talk about just a status of what was going on with the.
I can. You invited me. You let me know what you want me to.
Now.
Okay.
Meeting now.
Always happy to help out my friends.
Ray told me I would talk to you like that. I'm going to.
I don't recall that conversation. So, I can tell you a little bit about it. I still have to apprise the mayor and council and my leadership. I can't give you all the details. But as of right now, we're waiting for the engineering feasibility study to come back from the Corps of Engineers. They use a different name for the report. That this report will outline how to build canal rewatering, what the limitations would be, funding, It is the document that allows the court to go seek the funds to build the improvement. Now, this is a very complicated project, because there's 2 to 3 projects involved. So canal rewatering and city's 78-inch pipeline were federally the same project, whereas the city's contribution on 78-inch pipeline, which will convey CSO flows from, I'd say, about 70% of our sewer shed. That project is only encompassing about 30 to 35% of the project area that canal rewatering occupies. The other 65% are outside the project area. So our costs within the canal rewatering would be our match with our $75 million pipeline project. Potentially, that's the last estimate. At that point, you're just talking monopoly money. Nobody really knows till you get the things down here. But we're talking about 3 miles worth of spread acreage. It's going to be pricey. But only the 35% only work within 78-inch that is within the canal watering zone account towards that contribution. Now, those are state funds. All of our money so far is tied up in bay restoration funds, water quality loans. And so that the funds work together. But we still got to figure out, is the court going to support the project? Is the city able to afford our contribution to them? So we have about $60-some million in state funds already for that project. The linchpin in all of this is the Corps of Engineers they were not happy with us putting the pipeline on the riverside of the line. The Park Service doesn't want the pipeline on the canal side of the line. So making 2 parties happy, and that's not to put anyone with a microscope, it's just we have no other alternative. We do have an alternative, but it involves a huge tank in your Crescent Lawn area and then a massive pump situation to send it across CSX twice up Industrial Boulevard just to go underneath CSX again. So we're threading a fine line here on how to make this state required project happen. This is not just a pipe dream for Bobby Smith and Ed Morris. You're trying to find a way to reduce CSOs in the city, and this pipeline will do that. Again, hydraulically, we can stay at a 75 million gallon a day flood, flood situation. So we not just hydraulically, 75 million gallons of water falls on the city. There's going to be problems everywhere.
So you guys aren't separated as of right now?
We are not. Our long-term consent program did not go down that route because the cost at that time was, I believe, $300 million. Probably north of that. We'd still be in it, and we didn't really start getting funding for our consent program until the late 2000s, probably 2010. And our program went down a much different route because we could only afford to do so much.
Yep.
Now, I understand the county went down a different path, and that was great for them. But and I started 2018. John DeFonso already started this program, so it's all played in.
It's his idea.
Anyway, so yeah, we went down a different path. To revert back, you're still going to have CSO issues. We have no intention of blocking our CSO outfalls because we don't want sewage to back up into people's homes, and you'll never get the footer drains and all the gutter drains out of the system. It's just not feasible in a historic city where you have no green space. Other places did it. They can let us know and give us the money to pay for it, how to do that. Not to be snide, but it is what it is. We have so much money. So if we can't do the CNO, we have to figure out how to look at the core to get our pipeline in the same project. You know, Dee Dee's project will probably be constructed before we go for the 78-inch, where our pipeline interacts with your trails. We're going to fix the trails. So just so everybody understands, on a $75 million project, repairing some trails isn't affect the budget there. So, but we will repair it back to the way it was. I have been in contact with the Park Service and specifically, so know where we're at and how we orchestrate all these things together. In a perfect world, canal rewatering happens, 78-inch happens, River Park happens, and the trails happen. And we work together on how to get to the finish line because they're all very worthwhile projects that have a real benefit to the city. So at this point, I'm waiting for the document from the Corps to come. It should be draft version to me in October. Looking to finalize that in November. As I take all these preliminary reports with a grain of salt because you don't have enough information. And we will decide how much more we need to get, how much more information we need to find before we make the decision which route we're going to go down. I know what my personal preference is, but the city only has so much borrowing capacity on the sewer side. As good a condition as we are right now with the projects that we have in line, which are probably on the order of $200 million that we need to execute over the next 10 to 15 years. We're talking about loans that are 30, 40 years in term, even at the great interest rates that the state provides us. You can really put yourself in a point where you charge the cost of your service. It is not equitable for the ratepayer. So, not to put anyone scared. We're taking all precautions right now to find money to make all these projects happen, the least amount of burden on the ratepayers. So. Any questions?
Have you thought about discharging your pipe on top of the levee, and then you get the Corps and the Park Service out of the way, and it just goes wherever it goes?
We have. And for some reason it's frowned upon. I don't understand.
Well, the towpath's will tell them.
It would be a towpath, be a slide. Anyway, I'm available for questions. A lot of hurdles, and I'm happy to come back when we know some more information. In a perfect world, we'll be looking at construction in 3 years. If things go well, and people cooperate, primarily at the MDE level and the state legislature, because they got to help us. They want us to do this crazy thing. $75 million project for the city of Cumberland is a big lift, even if it is just a single pipe. But we'll figure it out. They've been good to us so far. So, yeah, am I available? If you have any questions, or you can bombard the mayor and I'll sneak out.
Run.
Any questions? Bobby, thank you, Bobby.
Thanks, Bobby. I don't know. John, do you need to speak?
I don't think so. I think you covered everything.
Okay.
I'm here, I'm just working part-time, and this trail project is really about the only thing I'm involved in right now. But I've been working with Bobby on the Sando Canal and the 78-inch pipe. That's kind of the reason I'm still around, I think. And I'm hoping that it goes. I hope I get to see the end of it.
Thanks, John. All right, before we go into new business, I failed to mention something under the River Park, and that is that a couple of weeks ago, there were a group of stakeholders, insiders, and a focus group that we pulled together. Actually, him and Dee Dee pulled them together. Ashley was there, Stu was there, the mayor was there, some other people as well, Julie McCoy from the chamber, to talk about some collateral pieces that may help us explain both to the general public and then to our funders what we need, where the project is, and what we need to complete the project. And it was an excellent conversation. I appreciate all the comments. It's a very animated conversation. I think Kim is working on the collateral piece, but we focused in on kind of the public piece, not necessarily something that a state or federal elected official would need, but something that describe to the public about the River Park project and the phases of it. There was an idea that came out of that to do another public meeting. Now that we're working on the land-based amenities phase, there was a possibility that was thrown out to maybe do that in the fall of 2025. That would precede the 2026 Maryland legislative session. We are thinking about that, and my suggestion, Dee Dee and I just talked about that. My suggestion is that we get this focus group back together, see what Kim was able to decipher from all the comments, and then kind of deepen the conversation about when we would be ready to have a public meeting. So that's kind of where we are, but I didn't want to not let you know that that was a recommendation that came out of the last board meeting, and we're working on that. So kind of closes the loop, or a to be continued at least with the sun. All right, I think with that being said, new business, approval of the contract to award SB and Company for fiscal year 24 and 25 audits, and I think Nicole, you can cover that.
Yeah, so on June 30th of this year, we did put out a request for bids for auditors. We put it out to 19 different firms, some local, some state approved. We had bids being awarded or coming in through August 4th. So there's one other month for people to get anything in. We got one bid, and that was SB and Company, who we work with for a couple of cycles now. We work with them whenever we need anything. They are certainly on call for us whenever we need them during the remainder of the year, even outside of audits. So the bid came in at $16,000 per audit year. We did advertise for 2 years because we were completing 25 as well, so 24 to 25. Yeah, so at this time we're just asking them to approve SB and Company to be our auditor for the next 2 fiscal cycle audits.
Okay, we can take questions. Let's get this on the floor. Is there a motion to accept the submitted bid? Okay, Ray moved. Is there a second?
No second.
Okay. All right. Moved by Ray, seconded by Doug. Any questions for Nicole? All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thanks, Nicole. Okay, I think the next thing is the announcement of the MHAA board meeting scheduled for October 22nd of this year. Kim?
Yeah, so we have every, MHA meets quarterly, and once a year they go to a site. We offered to host it this year, which is, every couple of years you get that opportunity. So that was nice that we have that opportunity. That they will be coming on the 22nd. We will be having a board meeting at the museum, and then at the conclusion of the board meeting, they're going to ride the train, and then we're going to have hopefully lining it up now, but somebody speak to them at the coal miners memorial down there before we come back, and then we'll give them a tour of Canal Place and our little neck of the woods here. So yeah.
That's their board meeting, not our board meeting.
Yeah.
That's the historic. Theirs, not ours. So, is there any expectation for board members to be involved with any of this, Kim, or?
I mean, you certainly don't have to. I mean, they're welcome to come. Their board meeting will, be all, the state stuff. So I don't, it's not necessarily going to impact us directly. Nothing would be on the agenda that would be directing us and impacting us directly. Sorry. So,
but you're welcome to
up to
come.
you. Yeah.
It's over at the museum and it starts at 9:30. And if you can come just to see how Maryland Heritage Area Authority operates, please come. Secretary Ford from Department of Planning. She's the chair. She'll be there. Elizabeth Hughes from Maryland Historical Trust, she'll be there. So
Yeah, I think
some pretty significant folks, if you want to show up.
Thanks, Ken. And also I think you have the Maryland 250 update.
I do. And I guess it's a brief update. We haven't had any earth shattering news since the last board meeting. The landing page is up thanks to the tourism office, and we have that directly linked on our page. So as local organizations and people, put their stuff onto the commission site, it will then be brought over into tourism site. So people can go there throughout the entire year to stay up to date on what's happening in Allegheny County. I traveled to Hagerstown on August 28th to the commission meeting, and I presented, the things that we had planned in Allegheny County. And then I think Ashley had mentioned I had $400 in my report. It was $4,000 inclusive history grant that we were awarded through the commission. And that is, we're going to launch a storytelling series where we'll kind of like a podcast type feeling. We'll interview local historians and people in the community that, can share history and stuff, so that we have that archived, and we'll have that stuff on our website. And, hopefully it'll be entertaining for people.
Any questions? All right, thank you. All right. So it's my first time reading this, so bear with me. Before I get to that, anybody from the public have any comments, questions, thoughts? Any non-board members here with us? All right. Well, thank you all for coming. We are going to go with closed session. And under the general provisions, Article 3-305B4, to consider a preliminary matter that concerns a proposal for a business or individual or industrial organization to locate, expand, or remain in the state relating to leases at Canal Place. Is there a motion to close the open session? And Michael, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right. Yes, you're waiting for the public to be.
You guys gonna take 2 minutes?
I was gonna say.
You're the mayor.
You want me to help you?
Congratulations or condolences.
Very day to day, hour to hour.